I mean, a decade
Mhm.
ago, you could rank easily for, some really um, pretty easy keyword terms, right? And those keyword terms are now very competitive. So it's a lot more competition, which means your content really has to actually stand out and be useful and valuable and speak to the user intent. And that is so important. AI is vastly important, of course, and it's going to change our entire lives. I do believe that in every way, not just content marketing, but in everything that we do. I think the next 5 years is going to be tumultuous in a lot of ways, but the way we operate, and the way we work, and the way we live our lives, right? And but from a writing perspective, AI cannot create the type of work that an actual skilled writer.
Hi everyone, welcome to the NoName Podcast. We are in for another episode. Today we have a guest. She is my former colleague. Her name is Jennifer April. She is an avid content marketer again, and she has been working as a content writer since a long time. So I want to discuss with her about her journey of content writing. How did she start, and then what are some of the challenges that she faced. And this discussion, I think, will be definitely helpful for whoever want to start something in content writing. So if you like this discussion, please subscribe and like this video. Having said that, let's bring Jennifer in and we'll start our conversation. So, welcome to the No Name Podcast, first of all, Jennifer. And I'm excited to kind of have this discussion with you. So, I mean, to start with, tell us about your journey, how it has been as a content writer, as a content marketer. You have been working in this industry since a long time now. So, what made you kind of start the journey in content writing, first of all?
Well, I always wanted to write as a kid. I mean, I grew up reading and writing. That was, that's a through line for me. In 2005, I was working as a museum educator. I have a master's degree in museum studies, and I was working in a small historic house outside of Philadelphia. And I was put in charge with developing the first website for them. This was a
Okay.
content marketing system because, first of all, I panicked and thought, I don't know how any HTML. I knew enough to know that much, but I was like, I don't know this. But it turns out it was an early precursor to WordPress, and so it was very doable. And, and as I was working on this, I thought, I really am enjoying this. And so I started poking around online because it was still early days of the internet. And then I ended up creating a website about dog treat recipes. And from there, it spiraled. I learned about SEO. I learned affiliate marketing. I learned, how to build a list. And so I continued to work in that industry for a few more years, but I had a layoff in 2010, which pushed me into starting my own thing. And so that's how I started writing for other people, and I launched my freelance content marketing business.
Right, right. I mean, it's been a long journey. I mean, it's good that now that you have come to a point where content is your just right hand game. Like you can just sort it out at any time. So it's been how do you see the changes in the industry, Jennifer? I mean, when you started, now content has evolved a lot, right? So what are some of the biggest changes that you see, so far?
Well, some of the biggest changes, I think there are three big changes, like overall broad things. One is better quality content with more perspective. This is something we're really seeing shift right now. I mean, a decade
Mhm.
ago, you could rank easily for, some really um, pretty easy keyword terms, right? And those keyword terms are now very competitive. So it's a lot more competition, which means your content really has to actually stand out and be useful and valuable and speak to the user intent. And that is so important. Additionally, you have different types of content being made now. It's not all writing. It's, videos, podcasts like this, infographics, drawings, illustrations. People are consuming in different ways. And so it's important to know what your audience prefers and,
Right.
then share accordingly. And then it's distribution because a lot of companies, spend a lot of energy creating content that is good and helpful and useful, and then they publish it once and they call it done, and then they're not getting as much as they could out of it. So distributing in multiple ways, in multiple formats, and where your audience is going to see it is so important.
Right, right, absolutely. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you've seen the artificial intelligence, the emergence of AI,
Mm-hmm.
the generative AI, and a lot of things that are happening, and the industry is getting impacted quite a lot. To be really honest, I mean, there are jobs on threat, and people are looking for new options and all those. So, what do you think about these new technologies? I mean, people are scared. People don't. I mean, not just the employees who are trying to find a job, but at the same time companies are scared too, because they are thinking that, okay, if we are hiring someone for their talent, they might rely on tools like these. So what is your entire perspective on this?
It's a completely different thing. AI is vastly important, of course, and it's going to change our entire lives. I do believe
Yeah,
that in every way, not just content marketing, but in everything that we do. I think that the next 5 years is going to be tumultuous in a lot of ways, but in the way we operate, and the way we work, and the way we live our lives, right? And but from a writing perspective, AI cannot create the type of work that an actual skilled writer produces.
hmm,
Now, if you're just starting and you don't have good writing skills, and your work is seemingly like AI's, because it's generic, then yeah, that's a danger. But for people and for companies who want to really compete in the content marketing space, you have to do better than what AI puts out. AI is a great starting point. It can give you it can give you some structure. It can help you create different ideas and topics, questions to ask when you're doing interviews with subject matter experts. It has a great place there.
right. But what do you think about the authenticity in question there? Because I was having similar discussion with one of the guests recently, and she said that although AI is booming, and but it's basically the content of others which is kind of scraping
Right.
from somewhere. So
Exactly.
do you think that although it's kind of packaging it in a new thing, and it's a unique content, but do you think that it's good for writers to go out there and take some content help from that those tools?
I think that you would not want to take anything from there and use it verbatim at any point,
Hmm.
because it's not original. You're plagiarizing. I mean, that's not what we want to do as writers, right? I mean, writing is all
Right.
about connecting the dots and coming up with new ideas.
Hmm.
That said, I also look at the new tools, the AI tools currently. It's kind of like article scrapers back in the day. Like what they would, you just get like a bunch of gobbledygook, and people would put it up and call it content. It's better quality than that, but it's a similar concept. And also, then in terms of SEO, in that intervening decade or so, you've had the skyscraper method of going to, let's go look at the top search results and basically rewrite what's there. I mean, that's kind of what AI
Hmm.
does, and we've already seen in the last several years that that's no longer working as well as it did, just because the internet's
Right.
flooded with it. So you have to keep adapting and keep changing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. Of course. So that's a good advice. But what are some of the techniques that you have kind of leveraged, or you have kept in mind, when while writing a content, and whoever is starting to, as a new content writer, what are some of the things or techniques that he or she should use to make good money, or maybe good strides in the career?
Well, it sounds cliche, but know who your audience is, because that's really who you're writing for. So always keep in mind who you're writing for. What are the questions they ask? What do they already know? Writing for a subject matter expert is a very different audience than writing something very high level for people who are looking up something that would be top of funnel content, like what is email marketing. I mean, like that would be such a different article than you would write for email marketing experts. It's a completely different audience.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you have been a writer in a various industries, right? So, what are some of the challenges that you faced in writing content for different industries? I mean, I know as a content writer, I know few things, but at the same time, I would like to know from my fellow content writers as well, what are some of the challenges that they face while writing for different industries, how they adapt to, the requirements of particular industries. Because although a core requirement may be same, but there are some things which might needs to be changed. So what are those things according to you? A writer should keep in mind while writing for different areas, different industries, and product services
Well,
like that.
I mean, for me, I try not to write in too many different industries. I've narrowed my focus. I write a lot for the pet space because I've written literally 1,000 articles or more for dogs and cats over the years. But I also write in B2B technology, specifically like hotel technology, and AI. I write in the AI world as well. And I write about the business of freelancing. So while I may go outside of those from time to time, I kind of stay. I mean, just in hotel technology, there's a huge, huge, huge many sub niches within that. So there's plenty,
Mm,
plenty to keep busy. And but that's come over years of trial and error and seeing where my interests
yeah, yeah.
lie, and.
Right, right, of course. So, I mean, still, there are as a content writer, I do face a lot of issues while writing content. So, what are some of the things that you definitely would tell them that okay, these are the checklists that you should keep in mind. For example, identifying the intent, what exactly those things that are there. So, are there any other tools that are there any other techniques that you would like to tell?
I'm sorry, what was the question exactly? Techniques around.
So, what are some of the techniques that you have you might tell to a new writer who wants to do
Oh,
something good
okay.
in content writing?
So asking questions. When I got started, I found this was really, really helpful to structure articles originally when I
Hmm.
had no idea how to structure an article. But it's like, what is it that people know already? Who are you speaking with, right? What is it they're looking for, that user intent piece? What are 3 to 5 benefits the reader's going to get from actually reading this? And what do you want them to do next after they read this? So are you looking for them to connect to a landing page, to download something? Do you want them to, go to a demo? What do you want them to do after they read this thing?
Right, right. So, as a content writer, what do you think the role of content in particular for the business? For example, content has been seen as a that will make a brand as a thought leader in the market, and that's why people create content to generate that value. So, what is your opinion on this changing landscape that now AI coming in? They will be having a like. There's no limit to content inflow now, but
Yes.
there's definitely a challenge to maintain quality. So
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things that you have in mind to kind of think about it, and how do you think that the quality needs to be maintained from here on?
I think that it's really important that businesses actually have a strategy and they aren't just creating content for the sake of content.
Hmm.
Um, it's maybe pulling back on the number of pieces that you're publishing so that you're publishing more quality pieces, higher value pieces, looking at the landscape of what's already in existence in your industry and how you can make it better on your side. I'd also, I think it's valuable to do a content audit, whether it's every 6 months or every 3 months or thereabouts, and look at what's performing well on your website. I'm updating update existing content that's done well. I'm doing that right now for a client who just sent me an email right before we got on this call, and he says, can you do an update on this particular article? I wrote it a year ago, but it's obviously performing well, so now we have new information to add.
Right, right, of course. And there's a lot of times I have faced a situation where and there is a SEO, so search engine optimization expert. He'll be telling me to write something about that the keywords that he has given, and there will be a product team who will be on top of me saying that you should address the intent of the product. So, according to you, what are the things that a writer should follow? I mean, is it like keywords, or is it like the intent that should be there? I mean, answer could be pretty straightforward, but I would definitely help, ask you to explain that a bit.
No, I think that's a great question, and I think it comes down to the intent of the business.
Right. Right.
What's going to help you meet your business goals, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about intent. Like in my opinion, I think I would skip keywords one day, but I don't want to skip the intent, because that's the thing that a business would love to have in the content. So I mean, as a strategist, you have worked as a strategist for content, and you have built a strategy. So what are some of the things that you keep in mind while building a content strategy for a company, be it any company for that matter, but to present them as a thought leader in the market? What are the things that you have in mind while building this content marketing strategy?
Yes, absolutely. So thinking of who they're trying to reach, what kind of content they've already been publishing, where are the gaps, that have not been addressed yet in what they have published.
Mm.
Uh, who are some of the, do they have any internal subject matter experts that could be tapped for content that hasn't yet been done? Um, what can we repurpose? Like, for example, if you have, I'm working with a client who just had, in March, yeah, February, March, had, people go to different conferences and deliver talks at, 3 different
Mm.
stages to say, and then now we could take those, those slide decks, for example, and turn them into published pieces. So it's repurposing content from their internal subject matter experts. So those are some of the ways you could do that. Also, you want to look at your Google Analytics and make sure that it's set up properly with goals, so you can actually measure things. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you don't have all the data you want, right, to make it work for you. So yeah, so there's
yeah,
different
and
pieces to it.
yeah, sorry to cut you there, but I mean, there is also a need to adjoin other strategies, for example, social media platforms and other things, so that you can promote your content better. It's not just writing content and adding a pile of blogs there on the website,
Oh,
but it needs to have a lot of distribution. So content distribution itself is a different topic altogether that many companies don't touch, and they only focus on content generation. But what do you think about the importance of content distribution, and why people should do that, going forward?
absolutely. I think it's an area that's not always used as well as it could be. I think content
Right.
distribution is essential. So what that could look like is, like, so you publish a blog post. Well, now you create 3 to 5 different shorter social posts that you publish in places where your audience will see them. If you've got the
Mm.
bandwidth for illustrations or specific imagery to go with them, charts, graphs, things like that, that's really useful and can create a whole different, opportunity to talk about something on the side about that. You can, create carousels. I mean, like for LinkedIn, for example, I mean, simple slide presentations. I mean, all of that can be repurposed, and you could create out of one blog post. You could create 5, 10 pieces if it's really good.
Right, right. And there's also, a lot of people say that you have to create infographics, and then you have to, promote your answers on Quora and whatnot, so that your content is getting, the exposure that it deserves. So, I mean, thanks, Jen. It's a quick conversation between us, but I know that you have things to do. So, what are your future plans, by the way, from here on? I mean, what is exactly that you are thinking as a content writer, as a digital marketer?
Well, I'm always learning and trying to stay current with what's going on. Obviously, I'm paying a lot of attention to the AI space and curious
Right.
about what that's how that's going to affect us, and figuring how we could use it better. Like, the prompts you give it are so important, right? And you can actually have it create a strategy for you. I mean,
Yeah.
the outline, broad outline, is still general, but it can help. It can give you some kind of guide, a frame of reference there. So I'm really just looking at that, and over the next year, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But let's try to stay current with what we're doing now and keeping
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I'm seeing your LinkedIn post, by the way. I'm following them a lot, and I see a lot of engaging articles and that you share. I think you are on Medium also. You write well. For my listeners, I can add these details in the description so that they can read out the blogs. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
and I would definitely love to kind of have you, in a conversation where you can give us more time, so that we will have a good, meaningful conversation going ahead.
Okay.
Thank,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.